A boy seems to be getting beaten up badly. He is thrown into the middle of two others who look scared, and the guy who hit him says, "Well, I have a question." He asks why the money he gave to that kid is now in his hands. The bad guys stammer, apologizing, saying they didn't realize he was under his protection. So the man asks if it would have been fine if it were someone else. Dragging the beaten boy away, they say they won't do it again. Our hero tells the boy to get up and go home, and that if he stays out too late, bad people might bother him again. Having done that, the boy continues on his way, feeling satisfied. But the little girl seems to notice that he is actually in trouble. He looks gently at the girl and asks what's wrong, not realizing what's about to happen. On her knees, she begs him to be careful, but it's already too late for that. Sometime later, he seems calm in a brightly lit place, thinking to himself that his name is Kai, a normal student. He's still unconscious while a girl cries, begging for her master to come back to life, and he wonders if he's dead. Our hero starts to open his eyes, and the girl thanks the gods because she thought she would end up alone. She starts hugging him, and awkwardly Kai asks who that girl is and what she's doing. She tells her master that her name is Ai, and that she is his shadow. The girl says that he's badly injured, so she used her bodily fluids to heal his wounds. He looks confused and asks if he's not dead, then suddenly realizes and asks her what she means by being a shadow and what is this place. Excited, the little girl tells her master that this is the shadow world. She explains that people with strong determination die and return to this place, the shadow world. She says that here in the shadow world, shadows take form and become companions that stay by their master's side. Annoyed, he asks if she's messing with him and questions why the hell his shadow is a little girl, but she explains that shadows can take any form. Then he says whatever, that if he's not dead, he'll just find his way home because his mother is waiting for him, but she tells him to look at his feet. Our hero looks down at his feet like she asked, and suddenly he's really surprised by something and thinks it can't be, wondering if what she's saying is actually real. He turns to the little girl and tells her to show him the way out. She says she heard there is an exit far away in this world but doesn't know if it's real. Running, he says there's no choice but for them to find this exit, but the girl says the world is dangerous and that she'll protect him. Now curious, he asks what kind of dangers there could be here and how a little girl is supposedly going to protect him, when suddenly, a huge creature appears in front of them. Our hero is terrified by this. That thing grabs the little girl, who says bugs are scary. The old man sitting on top of that thing laughs and says he caught his shadow. Kai says it's a huge scorpion and asks what the hell that old man is doing, but he replies that he's a newbie and it's his lucky day. He says the boy still doesn't understand that in this world if you lose your shadow, your death becomes real or inevitable. Kai then says to let his shadow go, but the old man says shadows have many abilities and devouring others grants even more. He explains that his shadow is a knight and devouring it can increase his life. He asks if Kai really thinks he'd let this opportunity slip away. Irritated, Kai tells the old man to let her go, that this isn't fair, but the guy looks confused. Our hero says this is something only a villain would do. The old man starts laughing uncontrollably, saying that in this world what matters is the survival of the fittest, just like in a jungle. But suddenly, something unexpected pierces through that old man. A third person arrives and says that it's true that in this world only the strongest survive, and those words fit him perfectly. Mocking, he says he'll remember his last words. Then that huge lizard starts devouring the scorpion. The bandaged man says it's useless to dodge, and claims that inside his lizard's stomach, in 3 minutes, the old man will be digested and disappear. Our hero curses about it and says that in this place, everyone does whatever they want, and asks what the hell is this shadow world. The bandaged man looks surprised, wondering if that's absorbing the power of the shadows directly from the world, and says he's heard of this way to extend one's power in life. Irritated, our guy rushes at him, preparing an attack, demanding that he give it back. He lands a powerful punch on that giant lizard. Both the old man and the bandaged guy are shocked, questioning what just happened. The giant lizard flies away, leaving a huge mark on the ground. That man gets excited and says that he's pretty impressive, managing to absorb from within the shadows so quickly. But even that alone isn't enough. Then the bandaged man commands the lizard to attack our hero. Satisfied with the outcome, he says it's over. But our hero emerges from the dust holding the lizard, while the old man tells him to hang on for a bit, because if he kills the man, the beast will disappear. The old man then charges toward the bandaged guy while he just waits, calling him a fool, saying that resisting absolute power is pointless. That guy starts falling apart and wonders if this is his end, while our hero questions what the hell is going on. The bandaged man explains that the old man's shadow was digested, and now only he is left, saying the lizard accelerated its digestion to finish this quickly. Our hero shouts to hell with that, saying there's no way he'll let him do whatever he wants. The guy admits that he's undeniably strong, but unfortunately for him, his time is up. At that moment, our hero charges at him, yelling that no matter what it costs, he'll save Ai, but the man says that no one can escape the lizard's stomach. Suddenly, our hero stops. Both men look at the lizard as something seems to be happening. Right then, a massive energy pillar bursts through that giant lizard. From that spot, the little girl comes running, saying she's so happy to see her master is okay, and she yells that the lizard is disgusting. Kai hugs the little girl, comforting her, but says the most important thing now. Then the girl explains that she can shoot 2 special beams. The yellow one is for control and the red one is for destruction, but whenever she uses them, she needs to rest a bit. Our hero thanks her, saying she really saved him, and promises that while she rests, he'll protect her. The bandaged man can't believe what happened and screams that he lost to a rookie, a wand. Kai looks satisfied and says the game is over, while the girl asks her master where they're going. He keeps walking and says it's obvious. They're going to find a way home. Nearby, something strange appears in the sand. Then a man comes out from under it, saying he never thought he'd find a genius capable of absorbing the power of shadows. Excited, he says that Lord Jugo will certainly be pleased with this. Sometime later, the little girl walks happily while our hero seems a bit exhausted. He asks her if she's not hungry, but the girl says they haven't found any food and can't move anymore. But either way, she's not hungry. Suddenly excited, he wonders if what he's smelling is food. He starts running desperately, yelling for her not to try to stop him, but the girl runs after him, asking her master to wait. Kai keeps running when suddenly an energy surge appears in front of him. He jumps to the side, barely dodging it, wondering what the hell that is. Our hero is surprised as his shadow asks if he's okay, and at that moment, he questions what that thing was. I says it looks like a sword mark, like someone caused that cut right in the middle of the desert. Not believing it, he asks if she's joking. He was just looking for food, and wonders if this is the welcome they get. Then, in the next moment, a woman appears saying, "Hey, you two." The mysterious woman says that if they come any closer, she'll cut them both. Kai tries to explain, saying she misunderstood and that they're only there for food. Annoyed, she asks if he really thinks that excuse is going to work, and says that if he doesn't leave immediately, there'll be no turning back. But the little girl says that it's true, and that her master is so hungry he can't even move anymore, adding that if they give them food, they'll just leave. The woman realizes that he dodged her attack even in this state, and thinks that he's not normal, and if he's hungry, he must be a newbie. She says there's no real food in the shadow world, and that's why condensed shadow energy creates some sort of food, so he needs to do that. A bit confused, our hero asks what she means. She explains that he should calm down and feel the energy around him, then condense that energy into the food he wants. Kai sits down and says he's going to give it a try. The girl notices that he's absorbing a lot of shadow energy, and that usually newbies take much longer to achieve something like that. As he focuses, she wonders how he's doing it so quickly. Our hero says that he got it, that he can feel the energy in his body, and asks if now he just needs to condense it. Excited, he says he'll start with meat. Excited, Ai tells her master that he can do it, and that it smells really good. Cheerful, Kai asks if this is how eating works in this world, and says that now he won't be hungry anymore. The girl is surprised that he managed it on his first try. She wonders if he's one of those legendary geniuses, while our hero and his shadow collapse on the ground completely full. But hold on, the girl introduces herself as Laz, saying that she's a pretty strong warrior from Fortress 27, and asks if he wants to go to her fortress with her. A while later, they arrive at the entrance of that huge fortress. Our hero and his shadow are amazed by it, and the woman explains that this fortress is known as the Black Iron Fortress. She says the dunes around it are called the Desolate Lands of Sorrows, and explains that every day, people who carry deep sorrows fall here from the real world. She explains that some accept devouring shadows to gain power, while others refuse because they don't want to suffer anymore, and those people together built this fortress. Now she says that they use this fortress to protect themselves, and then I asks if it was created by condensing shadow energy. The woman confirms that it was, and the little girl says that if she can create something this big, she must be really powerful, and asks if she couldn't win without building these walls. The woman explains that humanoids and shadow beasts get stronger by consuming shadows and linking to their master, but normal people do this much more slowly. Suddenly, someone starts approaching. Our hero is amazed by the smell of that one, and his companion says it's a huge pig. That guy tells everyone not to run and to form a line. The woman says his name is Letra, and that he's the second strongest right after her. She explains that today he's in charge of cooking lunch, and that by working together like this, the fortress keeps functioning. She also says that they fight off intruders who try to steal their shadows, and then asks if he liked it. Why doesn't he join them? Kai says he appreciates the offer, but he still wants to return to his real world. She's surprised, asking if he's joking, and says no one has ever managed to do that. But excited, he says he'll never know if he doesn't try, and besides, Ai is really powerful. The little girl happily says she'll protect him. Laz says it's a shame but hopes he finds his way home. Suddenly, something happens inside the fortress. A man yells, asking if they're not supposed to be protecting him, then at least they should share the food. The man begs Lord Ivan to please forgive him, saying they can't do anything like that anymore. Irritated, Ivan kicks the guy and says he doesn't want to hear any excuses, then asks how the hell he expects him to be satisfied with this low-level food. Kai asks if there are different food levels, and the girl explains that it depends on the energy. Low-level food doesn't work for high-level people. She explains that if strong people go without food for too long, their strength deteriorates, but making food takes time, so cooking would leave them with no time to level up. Kai thinks about it, saying that they have others make the food so they can focus on other things, and that's why only a few are strong. Laz says that's the price of keeping everyone safe. The guy keeps shouting, saying that they protect everyone and this is the food they give him, and that he still has the nerve to ask if they'll keep protecting them. Then suddenly, someone puts a sword in the way and says that's enough. He tells Laz that she's too weak, and that's making her evolution slow, but she replies that she prepared a special meal and asks if he'll be satisfied. The man starts laughing, asking if she's going that far just to protect these weaklings, and says that if she were different, she could be as strong as him by now. He adds that, to make it worse, right now he's the strongest one here. The girl asks if that's all he has to say, and that if he's made up his mind, he can leave, so he says fine, but not to forget the deal. Laz says it's alright and that everyone can go back to their work. The guy is shocked to see something. Then suddenly that man returns and attacks the girl. She asks if Ivan betrayed them, and he laughs, saying he figured instead of waiting for the food, he'd rather eat it, and after that, he promises he'll stay quiet for a while. Our hero, angry, calls him a bastard and says he'll help her. The guy easily dodges, asking if that means he can also use the power of shadows, and admits he's kind of strong too. Ivan looks surprised and asks if that's a shadow one night. He gets pretty excited and says he's changed his mind. He asks Laz if she said he couldn't touch anyone from this fortress. Then he says this outsider isn't part of the group, so he can devour him. Some time passes during that clash, and everyone stays at that entrance, staring at each other. Laz tells Ivan that he's fallen, but she won't let him hurt anyone else. The man asks what she can do in her current state and tells her to just sit there quietly and watch him devour that humanoid shadow. Our hero, excited, says that if he's so confident, then he should do it. Then, talking to Vi, he tells her, "Let's go." The girl tells her master that she's weak in close combat, and Kai looks a bit disappointed as she says they should wait until Laz's injuries are healed. Kai gets irritated and asks if she didn't just unleash a powerful attack a moment ago. She replies that she needs some time to recharge and that she can only attack from a distance. Without giving time for that, the man charges forward, and he asks if those guys are underestimating him as he strikes. Our hero realizes that he really is strong, and that he can't think he'll win just like that. Ivan keeps attacking and asks where all that confidence from before went, telling him to show something cool. Laz warns him to be careful because Ivan's shadow. She finishes saying that it has the shape of claws. At the moment the man's attack hits our hero, he says the guy realized it too late. Kai curses, saying he had his guard down, and wonders if shadows can really take shapes like that. Ivan says his claws can retract and extend however he wants, and that he should feel honored to become his food. At that moment, a trident comes flying toward the guy. He easily deflects it with his claws, pinning it to the ground. Lita appears, asking if he's causing a commotion inside the fortress, and whether he wants to be killed. The man says it's none of his business and to stay out of it, because once he eats this one night, his evolution will be complete, and maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea for him too. Laz tells Lita not to listen to Ivan, because if they abandon the others like this, they'll be no different from the fallen. The warrior says she's right, and that if they start sacrificing each other, this fortress will lose its purpose. Ivan charges, saying he used a lot of energy earlier to prepare food and wonders how much he still has left. He finishes by saying that if he resists, he'll eat him too. Their two weapons clash on the battlefield. The bandaged man says to look at how weak the warrior is and tells him he's going to lose. Then, with a quick movement, he dodges the guy's trident and prepares for an attack, saying goodbye to him. But at that moment, our hero jumps, grabs the warrior, and pulls him out of the way of the attack. Lita is surprised by this. Meanwhile, our hero's shadow fires its attack at Ivan. Excited, Ivan asks if they actually did that, and the guy says he thinks he hit him. But it seems that Ivan still isn't defeated, even though he's seriously injured. He says this is really bad, that they came really close to finishing him, but unfortunately he's still alive, and that means they're destined to become his food. Then he charges forward with his powerful claws, shouting for them to die. Lita says she still has a bit of strength left, but our hero says it's fine, that he has a special trick up his sleeve. In the next moment, something hits that guy. He turns around to see Laz and asks how she recovered. The girl says that Ai has healing abilities, and that's why she healed so fast. Then she adds that she lost all hope in him. She remembers a fight against 3 people who said they intended to eat more and more to become stronger. At the time, Ivan said that if anyone had a problem with that, they should speak up because he wouldn't show any mercy. The 3 friends then charged against their opponents. Some time later, they collapsed to the ground saying they had won, and then Ivan asked what they were going to do in this terrible world. Feeling renewed, he said he had made his decision to build a shelter right there. His 2 friends watched him happily as he said this would be a place where everyone could live safely. With a gentle smile, he asked his friends if they would help him. Laz tells Aiden that he didn't just betray himself, but all of them. She asks why he became this, and the man says she's right, that every day he fought desperately to survive, and ended up becoming a fallen without realizing it. Laz tells him to leave this place and never show his face to them again, and if she finds him, she'll kill him. She says she's being really gentle. But without changing her mind, the girl says for him to just leave now. Ivan asks if they really think the fortress will stay safe just by getting rid of him. Lita asks what he means, if someone has their eyes on the fortress. The man starts laughing uncontrollably and asks if they really want to know what he feels. He says that no matter how much he fought, he couldn't escape his fate. He asks if they've ever heard of the 10 lords and says that they are the 10 most powerful in the desolate land. He says they divided the lands to rule over them and that they are nothing more than cattle the lords keep. Ivan continues, saying that no matter how hard you fight day after day, in the end, they'll all just become food, and that those people are forcing them to fight and get stronger. Laz asks where he heard that from, and the man says he defeated one of the guards of this area and decided to take his place. The girl asks if he isn't fully fallen yet, and that's why he came back to warn them. So now they have to defeat the 10 lords, but Ivan says it's too late. Suddenly, a very loud sound echoes throughout the place, and the woman asks what that noise is. Our hero asks if they had something like that in the fortress, but one of the men replies that maybe this place isn't safe anymore. On the big screen, a clown appears saying it looks like they defeated the guard of this area and congratulates them. Now, Lord Ten's game is about to begin. Then he explains that in 24 hours the Lord will send 3 warriors to attack the fortress. If they manage to defend it, the Lord will grant them a wonderful reward, but if they fail, then all of them will become food for the guards. Now he tells them to fight for their lives. Our hero says no way. Ivan says, discouraged, that the desolate lands are nothing more than a playground for the rulers. But Kai says that it doesn't matter because they can't just sit around and do nothing. Then he asks if the attack will only happen in 24 hours. Laz says that if things go south, then she can use the last resort. A while later, still talking on that bridge, the attention shifts as the girl asks Ivan if his despair is what led him to this. In a gentle tone, she asks if, one more time, he wants to be with them and fight for what he believes in, even if it means risking death. The man says that she hasn't changed at all, still soft-hearted, but that dying while taking down those bastards doesn't sound like a bad idea. Then she asks about our hero and his shadow. She says she doesn't even need to ask since he can't ignore scum like this, and the little girl agrees. She then says they should prepare properly because those known as the guests mentioned by Bielo are coming. Then the next day, in front of the fortress, a few people appear. A girl tells them to hurry because her skin is burning under that sun, and that if they destroy this fortress quickly, they can go back home soon. The man confirms. That trio arrives at the gate of the enormous fortress. The door slowly starts opening, and the excited woman asks if they're going to surrender. But as they walk in, they wonder why there's no one there ready. One of the invaders says this is a trap, and the bald, strong guy agrees. Suddenly, thousands of spears appear from the walls, and they start firing at the invaders. One of them says they're everywhere, and the woman asks if they really think this is enough to bring them down. She then starts wielding her weapon, using dark energy. That man on top of the turtle creates a sort of hurricane to protect himself. Meanwhile, the strong guy just waits for the arrows to hit him, but they don't even pierce his skin. The girl asks if that's all, saying she's pretty disappointed. Suddenly everything starts shaking, and the man on the turtle asks if it's an earthquake, but someone else says no, not really. Then, in the next moment, there's a massive explosion. The girl starts getting excited, saying it was a great job, and that they really managed to drive her crazy. Suddenly, some cages fall from above. They crash onto the ground, trapping the invaders. On top of one of them, Laz is just watching. Aiden is inside another cage along with that muscular man. And in the third cage, the man with the turtle stands facing Lita and our hero with his shadow. The invader girl says that the arrows and bombs were just a trick, and that the real plan was to trap them in these cages, adding that it wasn't a bad move. Laz enters the cage and says it was made entirely of shadows, so only one of them can escape. The invader laughs and tells her not to make her laugh, asking if she really thinks she can beat them. Laz replies that she won't know until she tries. Excited, the man says that's fine and that he has no complaints about fighting them. Ivan says to make it a real fight, to the death. In the other cage, as they prepare to fight, the little girl says that Turtle is disgusting. The man gets irritated and says he's going to kill them all. Lita tells him to make the first move while he waits for an opening to do a surprise attack. The hero asks if he's serious, but their opponent doesn't wait for the conversation to finish and attacks. His shadow tries to help by calling out where the attacks are coming from. She says the next one is from above and then from the center. Confused, Kai asks what she's talking about. Then he blocks the attack coming toward his head but gets hit straight by the turtle. Our guy goes flying while his shadow runs over to help him. Grabbing her master, Hai says she's going to handle this now, while the other warrior tells him he can't just dodge, he needs to attack. Embarrassed, he admits that he's always fought by dodging, but the warrior tells him this is a battle, not some street fight. Kai asks if that means he's taking the lead now, and Lita replies that he's preparing a surprise attack because they won't get another chance. Smiling, our hero says the opportunity has arrived. The duo runs toward their opponent, who uses the turtle as a shield. They attack, but their strikes don't go through the turtle's shell. The shadow, worried, asks if her master and Lita are okay. Our hero asks why he didn't dodge, and Lita asks if wasn't he supposed to attack from behind. But the warrior says to forget it, that he can't trust him, so he'll handle this himself. Irritated, the man says they're all going to die. Lita panics, saying there's no way to win against power like this, but our hero says there is a way. Our hero asks what other options there are besides recklessly charging in like before. Suddenly, he seems to have an idea. He asks Ai to throw a light orb into the air. She doesn't fully understand but obeys. The man with the turtle starts screaming about his eyes, and in that moment, our hero says, "It's now." He runs up to his opponent and grabs him from behind, shouting for the warrior to do it now. Without thinking twice, Lita says, "Got it," and attacks, thinking to herself that he came up with this plan pretty fast. They really do have battle instincts. The warrior lands a direct hit on the trapped man. That guy starts slowly fading away with a terrified look. Excited with their success, Lita says they should help the others now, but our hero says no, it looks like they don't need help. In the other class, the two girls continue their fight. The invading girl says that Laws won, but that the Lord's subordinates are way stronger than them, and tells them to see how long they can last. The girl corrects her, saying it's how long we can last, and the girl on the ground says she likes that kind of confidence. Laws gets back to her friends and says it seems like they managed to defend the fortress this time, then asks about Ivan. The guy shows up saying it's too soon to relax, and says that this guy he made up didn't even get a scratch on him. But suddenly, that guy started disappearing. The girl looks shocked and asks what he just said, that this is bad. Our hero says there were supposed to be 3 assassins, but the woman's hammer was left behind. Then suddenly he realizes that man was the woman's shadow, which makes him ask where the 3rd assassin is. And then, out of nowhere, an attack passes right through Ivan, wounding him badly. Ivan lies on the ground, feeling the pain from the attack, desperately asking where the enemy is, and Laz tells him to stay calm. Then suddenly, a massive explosion happens right behind them. The girl wonders if this is just intimidation to make them retreat like prey. Ivan laughs and says now he gets it, that no matter how much they resist, it's meaningless. Fate can't be changed, and they have no choice but to die. Then, without anyone expecting it, our hero lands a solid hit on Ivan. Lita asks why he suddenly did that. The man on the ground yells what the hell, and asks if he's not from this world. He says it's true, he's not from this world, but if he gives up now, everyone is going to die. He adds that he's just like Ivan, and says if they don't take down the hidden enemies, they're all going to die. He says they need to find the enemy, and right now he's telling them, there is no fate that cannot be changed. A little annoyed, Ivan calls him a rookie, while the girl thinks that even though they just met, this boy has the qualities of a leader, and maybe he really can pull off a miracle. Nearby, a house starts to collapse, and a child clings to a pillar asking what's happening while their mother runs to help. The girl says this is bad, that the citizens are becoming targets, and asks how they can locate the enemy. Our hero seems to have come up with an idea. Then he says he's got it, calls his shadow to come with him, and the girl happily follows. He reaches a high spot carrying a huge barrel. Suddenly, he throws that massive barrel down. It smashes on the ground, spreading liquid everywhere. Both Master and Shadow say it's just as they thought. Then Ai starts using her fire magic. The little girl hits that spot dead on, making someone appear. The enemy yells for them to stop. He asks how our hero knew. He says that acting separately from the others must mean he had some kind of restriction or was trying to hide his abilities. He also noticed that the guy would have a big shadow. That guy says he understands now that Kai is pretty smart. He reveals that he was the captain of the 1st Division. Then he asks, so what do you think? Would you like to join the unit? Kai asks if he's joking and says they literally took down 2 of his teammates, while the enemy responds, I had no kind of relationship with them. He explains that the shadow world is ruled by the strong, and the weak simply get devoured, but if Kai joins them, he'll be the one devouring others. Ivan asks if they now understand that this is the despair he was feeling. Dreams and fairness mean nothing in this world. Kai asks what happens to the citizens. The man replies that they're nothing more than cattle to provide sustenance, and if they fail to do that, they lose their value. Finally, Kai says his answer is clear. Excited, the man says, "Good, then you're welcome." But Kai says he absolutely refuses to join his unit. Laz thinks, what a joke, while Letra says she has no interest in an organization that sacrifices others. The invader says they're all truly pathetic and concludes that he has no choice but to turn them into his food. Soraya gives the order to throw the colored water on the giant lizard, saying that'll stop it from hiding. The invader says they're underestimating the captain of the 1st Division. Then he orders the lizard to show its true strength from within its eyes. The creature starts advancing through the city while people run away in desperation. He says that no matter how strong this fortress is, it's nothing compared to a powerful house, and he gives the command for the lizard to destroy everything. Kai curses the situation and asks what they should do to stop the lizard. He explains that the lizard's scales are incredibly tough. Even his shadow's attack only burned the surface. Laz says she thinks she can pierce it. Ivan says he'll do it, that since he's made it this far, he can handle the rest, while Laz calls out, "Ivan." He keeps moving forward, saying that if she messes up, he won't forgive her. Smiling, she says he's an idiot and that they'll be companions forever. Heading toward his target, he draws the lizard's attention. The invader tells him to know his place and commands the lizard to devour that man. Ivan keeps walking and says that today both the invader and himself will fall right there. Then he throws his claws toward his opponent, but the man scoffs, asking if he's really aiming at him. That lizard easily catches the blades with its tongue, and the man says it was pathetic, that an attack like that couldn't even scratch the surface. At that moment, Laz approaches, asking if that's really true, and then she unleashes a powerful attack on the invader, telling him he shouldn't underestimate them. The man takes a wound right in his chest, trembling and cursing the situation. But he laughs, saying that his lizard can heal him, and if it eats her, he'll recover completely. Then he says she's finished. Our hero grabs the lizard's tongue and says he won't let it recover. Then he shouts, "Everyone." They all rush over to the tongue, and he tells them to pull with everything they've got, until in the next moment that tongue snaps. The invader curses the situation, saying it was close, as he starts fading away. One of the people says the fortress is in ruins, and if they attack again, they'll succeed. Another asks what they're going to do now. Our hero says he understands how they feel, but asks if they want to live like cattle forever. The man asks what they could possibly do. He asks if everyone came from the real world and whether they don't want to go back, saying that if they stay there, they'll die. He suggests they should look for a way home. That's what he's going to do. Sometime later in the desolate lands, a group travels across the desert. Someone gives the command for everyone to stop. The old man asks if he's not going any further, and someone else says it's because he thinks this place will be his grave. The old man gets scared and asks if he's planning to kill them, and the man says there's no choice. If he stays alive, he'll just be a waste of resources. The old man shouts that it can't be, that he set them up. Then one of the men starts attacking him, injuring him and apologizing for it. All the men who were there start running in desperation, but the guy smiles and asks where they think they're going. Sometime later, the sounds of battle are heard. The only person left walks through the area, saying that their sacrifices won't be in vain. Somewhere nearby, Ai calls her master, telling him he needs to wake up and continue his training. Frustrated, he asks if she's the devil, saying he almost died and asking if she didn't see that. Laz says that Kei's potential is limitless and that he can absorb the shadows around him really easily, but his combat skills are terrible. Suddenly, an attack flies past our hero, almost hitting him and leaving him terrified. Irritated, he asks how this is supposed to be training and whether she's trying to kill him. She says that training close to death helps you grow faster. His shadow approaches and tells him to do his best, and he replies that it's easy for her to say. It's not her problem. The training continues while Ai asks if he really believes this guy will get them out of there. She says that he keeps fighting alongside them, and she believes in him. Then the warrior says he's going to train with all his strength, but he's against placing their hopes on a kid. Ai reminds him that they're the only ones responsible for the people there. He says he's going to be attacked by a sword even while eating, sleeping, or using the bathroom, that this isn't a life, and he says he can't take it anymore. He wants to get out of there as soon as possible, right when a trident nearly hits him. Lida, smiling, asks where he thinks he's going. Our hero grabs his leg, begging him to please let him escape, that if this keeps up, he's going to die. The warrior asks what he's saying, that if he stays here, he'll suffer serious injuries, but if he goes outside, he'll never know when he'll die. Ai says that here he has no choice but to train and evolve, and that this is the only way to fight against those who want to devour him. As he grabs his trident again, he says that it's the only way to survive. Late tells him to try dodging his trident because he won't be holding back. Then he throws his weapon at the boy, who runs desperately, screaming, "No!" The trident nearly hits him, and he immediately falls into the sand. While resting in a wagon, a man asks if his shadow heard that. It seems like hundreds of men have disappeared. Another man says that the desolate lands are full of the fallen, and even with Lord Laz and Lida being strong, they can't fully protect everyone. He watches as another man says there were more than 300, but now there are fewer than 200, wondering if they can really find a safe place. Kai starts thinking about the disappearances and how 100 people can't just vanish like that. It must have been an incredibly powerful enemy, but he didn't see anything. An old man asks if it isn't strange that all those people vanished without a trace, and that only someone from the inside could do something like this. The boy asks the old man if he knows anything. Then the old man replies that there's no proof, and either way, this isn't something he can solve. Kai says he's strong, and his shadow confirms that. The old man then says he's enhanced his hearing using shadow power and overheard someone yesterday saying they wanted to overthrow the leaders and surrender to the rulers. Our hero says he doesn't think Lida and Laz would fall so easily, and the mysterious man says that's exactly why people are disappearing. Kai says, "That's it," and the old man says it means the enemy must have consumed 100 people to become stronger. Our hero gets up and says he'll go warn everyone, but the old man asks where the proof is and who would believe him. He explains that if this spreads, it could cause panic, which would be very dangerous. So Kai asks what he should do. The old man says he should investigate, not fight. Just memorize their faces and then expose them to the leadership. The boy says he understands, thinking that if he can catch the traitor, maybe they'll go easier on him during training. A while later, they're watching someone, and Kai says, "It's him, the one who wants to surrender to the 10 lords." Suddenly, someone grabs his leg and pulls him, tossing his body far away, while his shadow screams for her master. Our hero is thrown far. Then he realizes something is wrapping around his wrists and ankles. More people show up, saying they finally found him. Kai asks how they know about his movements, then says, "Don't tell me." The old man laughs and says, "That's right, I'm the one responsible," while I screams, calling him a damned old man and telling him to let her go. Angrily, he asks the guy what his goal is. Still laughing, the old man says he's not guilty, but they need a scapegoat. He explains that 100 members are already gone, and it's spreading fear and anxiety. If they don't find someone to blame, everything will collapse, and Kai is perfect because he's an outsider. He finishes by saying that's why he's the perfect traitor, while I struggles to break free from the man. Kai says this is insane, that even if they kill him here, the real traitor will still be out there. But the old man says that doesn't matter anymore. He says the leaders always oppose eating people for power, and the people of the fortress are too weak even to be eaten. But maybe this will make them change their minds. He adds that if Lord Laz eats Kai, the real culprit will eventually be cornered. Our hero is stunned and sarcastically says, "Wow, what a great plan, for how terrible it is." Then what seems to be the leader tells them to begin, and one of the men answers, "Yes, Lord Philip." Worried, Kai asks what they plan to do. One of them explains that by bathing him in the broth of the dead, it'll look like he was killing lots of people, and that this is a common technique in the desolate lands. The old man says that now they completed the proof of his corruption. He orders them to call Lord Laz and Lida immediately, since they will have to consume this traitor, and his lackey replies, "Yes." Then suddenly, an enormous energy bursts out from where the boy was, and he appears standing, asking them one thing: "Did you really think chains could hold me?" He adds that he'll make sure to return the favor to the old man. The old man asks why he doesn't understand, that if he simply accepts being consumed, the people of Fortress 27 will be saved. Irritated, he says they're trying to make him guilty of all the crimes and kill him, and in the end, they're no different from the others. He says they act like they're doing something noble, but he adds that he can't agree with that way of thinking. The old man says that if he won't agree, then he'll have to do it by force as he grabs the punch our hero was about to throw at him. He says that the boy consumed several people from Fortress 27 and that he will get revenge. Our hero realizes that he truly believes the lies and turns them into reality. Suddenly, our hero realizes how strong the man is. With one powerful move, he slams our hero to the ground. But to his surprise, the boy disappeared and he wonders where he went. At that moment, without any warning, Kai appears behind the old man. With a wicked look, that guy says he's a fool and should accept his fate. Then he counterattacks before our hero can do anything. But Kai manages to defend himself, wondering how he can be so strong at that age. Even while defending, the boy is sent flying, while the old man mocks him, saying they're just getting started. At that moment, he turns his hand back and starts aiming at his shadow. Some kind of power starts affecting the girl, who gets scared. Our hero, angry, yells at him to leave I alone, while the girl, in the old man's grasp, cries out for her master's help. The man says it's foolish. Back when he wandered the desert leading hundreds, he couldn't feel safe even for a moment. He says he was constantly hunted by beasts and enemies, and that's why he pushed Lord Laz into a leadership position. but now he's destroying all of that. He continues, saying she has to devour him without hesitation. Only then will she be fit to protect them. And our hero realizes the man is insane. Then, without any warning, he tries to strike, but Kei dodges, thinking about where this old man is getting so much power from. Determined, the opponent charges at him, saying that for his own interests, he must die. At that moment, Kei realizes that he's the one devouring people and trying to frame him, but he won't let things go his way. Grabbing the old man's arm, he counterattacks with a kick to his chest. Ai goes flying through the air and thanks her master. The crazy man says he believes old age is finally catching up. If this were during his youth, the boy wouldn't stand a chance. Those henchmen say, "Philip, please devour us too, because we are all so strong," and the old man asks if they aren't regretting this. One of them says that if Lord Philip can lead them, they won't regret it, so the man says he'll accept their wishes. In the next moment, spheres of dark energy appear, and that old man starts grabbing them and swallowing them. He laughs, saying his strength is returning. He says his friend is also back. It's a giant worm that will devour their power, and he also says he will rebuild the fortress. Our hero tells his shadow to use that technique, and she agrees. Then he commands her to use the yellow lightning control power. The old man is struck directly by that attack and is terrified. He sees himself in the middle of the desert in his younger form. Suddenly, a man behind him says he can't go any further. They beg the Lord to devour him, but in return, he asks him to take care of this child for him. Then the man is left behind, devoured, while the Lord takes his son forward. Some time later, another man falls to his knees, saying that even going this far, there's no safe place anywhere. With several of his companions left behind, he apologizes to everyone, saying that today he betrayed for the sake of hope. That's when someone appears, saying it's too early to despair. Laz shows up, saying she has plans to create a safe paradise, and asks if he doesn't want to join them. And that's how Fortress 27 was born. With many sacrifices, they built this fortress. But no matter how terrible things got, the lords never crossed the final line. They refused to consume others alive, and were very different from him. And now they've lost their home again, and for everyone to survive, he has no choice but to rise once more. Then our hero starts hitting him, but the old man doesn't seem to feel it. Kai curses the situation and says he's tough, while his shadow tells him to hurry. The boy looks back to see what she's talking about. He gets grabbed once again by that opponent. Being swung around, he yells that his shadow should have warned him, while she says the yellow lightning traps him in memories, but if he's strong enough, he can break free quickly. The old man says he won't let anyone get in the way of finding a safe place, and anyone who tries will die. Then, in the next moment, he's suddenly struck by a weapon. Looking back, the man says she finally arrived. Laz says she can't believe he's the traitor after all. She says everyone is naive, and if they don't grow stronger, they'll be devoured. The man then begs to be devoured, so no one else will make the same mistake he did. He says that if he's consumed, the girl's power will increase, and he'll leave the mission of finding a safe place in their hands. The girl calls out to him, saying he has more talent than her, and should let her handle this. Our hero says that if he had been a second slower, he'd be in serious trouble, and asks if she shouldn't be the one absorbing the power. The man explains that people have different ways of absorbing power, and if you absorb something that's not your type, your natural talent will drop. But if you start consuming the same type, you'll eventually become a demon. He explains that his natural talent is particularly special, and he should never eat other people. Then suddenly Lita asks what that sound is. Out of nowhere, a bunch of creatures starts running toward them. Laz says this is bad and asks if it could be a swarm of shadow creatures. Our boy asks what that is now. She explains that they are shadows that devour their masters and become feral, and when they lose control, chaos starts. Lita says it's not common for this to happen, especially right after the old man died, so she wonders if it's a coincidence or the work of the 10 lords. The girl says this is bad because the beasts are targeting their unit, and asks if there's still time to distract them, begging them to try. The group runs toward the direction of the creatures. Suddenly, Laz seems to realize something. Lita asks why she stopped so suddenly, and she says she just remembered she forgot to take care of something important. Then the girl starts running in another direction. Our hero asks where she's going, but his companion says he doesn't know and that they should head back to camp to warn everyone. Nearby, a huge creature with several heads growls. Some people are fighting it. One of the men yells for everyone to hold on. He says that even though they're holding this one back, there are 2 more coming. Another guy snaps, asking if he thinks he doesn't know that. Suddenly, a creature similar to a giant spider attacks, but Lita quickly blocks its attack. Excited, he tells the guys to hold that dog while they take care of these 2 others. Turning to our hero, he asks why he's just standing there and tells him to help quickly. Kai says, of course. Then, full of energy, he charges toward the creature and lands a punch straight into it, while someone tells him to aim for the middle of its body. That giant spider goes flying toward the giant monkey and ends up slamming straight into it. The massive monkey goes into a rage and starts attacking the spider. Our hero asks if they should intervene, but the warrior suggests waiting for a bit and letting the two deal with each other. That huge gorilla ends up winning the fight while someone calls out to it, shouting. Our hero just waves goodbye to the creature, and in the next moment, his shadow fires that huge beam, hitting the creature dead on. Happy with the result, she says, "It's done." But Leda tells her not to lower her guard because the dog is still left. At that moment, a beam of energy shoots from above, hitting the creature directly. And one of the men cheers, saying Lord Laz has returned. Everyone gets excited, saying they're saved because she's back. Happy, they tell Lord Laz that they used the cloth rat to keep the three-headed dog away. They add that they feel a little bad for the rat. Gently, the girl says he did a great job, that she should have trusted him with this sooner. She thanks him for holding back the shadow creatures, and the guy looks happy. Lita says that she always has a way of warming everyone's heart, but our hero says this isn't the time to be sentimental and tells them to look over there. He says it's a magnificent sign while the other man looks surprised. The guy says it's a desert, but it looks like it's about to rain, and it really starts raining. They think it's incredible, and for some reason, power starts surging within them. Riku also seems happy about it and says the power is sprouting from inside him, but wonders what's happening. She explains that the power of beasts is different from theirs, so when they die, they disappear immediately. And since they were huge, their powers turned into this rain. She explains that this kind of rain allows them to absorb power directly and congratulates them, saying that now they possess power and can help find a place. Happy, everyone celebrates, saying that she's right. Then she says they should now move forward and that together they must find a bright future. That caravan then continues through the desert. Time passes and she watches the night sky. Suddenly, her companions appear right behind her. She asks our hero if he has something to say because she knew he was coming. Kai says her words sounded really nice, but that they don't have much confidence in themselves. Then he asks what she's hiding. Laz says he's pretty sharp and admits that there is something, but she can't say it yet. If she does, they'll lose their last chance. Our guy says he understands, then asks if she can at least tell them where they're going because there are no stars, no marks, and yet she keeps walking without hesitation. Laz says she thinks she's hiding that too, then explains that they're going to a place called the Canyon of the Shadow Beasts. Kai asks where that is, while Lita asks if she really knows what kind of place that is. He warns that this place is known as the most dangerous area of the isolated lands because it's full of furious, uncontrollable beasts. He explains that no one has ever returned alive from there, and even the 3 beasts they fought required everyone to defeat. Laz says she knows that, but it's the only way for them to survive. She asks if he noticed that when the beasts died, they became stronger. She says that if more people get stronger, new possibilities will open, but her companion says he can't agree with that. Our hero says he understands and has already made his decision. Then he asks if she can swear that she won't harm their people. She gently confirms that yes, she promises. Kai asks what they're waiting for. They should move forward. If they stay there, they'll never find the way home, so they must go. Excited, he tells everyone to move forward, while Ai waves her arms. Lita says she trusted him without any proof and that he's really impressed by the boy's courage. He believes he might be a better leader than her. The girl says she never thought she would be a leader, but Kai and Riku are their hopes, so they must move forward. Time passes and they continue through the desert, until finally Riku announces that they've arrived at the Canyon of the Shadow Beasts, and the whole group finds themselves in front of that enormous place. Laz says they must prepare for battle because this is the only path forward. Sometime later in that canyon, some creatures sense something. Then Laz appears, striking the monsters. She attacks those bizarre hyenas with several strikes. Lita says they should finish this quickly before the sun sets, but Laz says something feels strange because everything is way too quiet. Our hero says he'll check it out himself, when suddenly one of the hyenas charges at him. It bares its fangs and growls. Then he ducks and says, "Gotcha," throwing the creature against the rocky wall. Kai wonders if it's over, but the monster turns around again, growling at him. It charges again, attacking. But he easily lands a hit on the creature, throwing it far away. A person appears, asking what he's doing with his shadow beast. Laz questions who he is and whether he knows this is the Canyon of the Beasts. Then the man says this is his home. The 3 companions are surprised by this information. He says that invading someone's home and hitting their shadow beasts is something he won't forgive. Embarrassed, our hero apologizes, but says he had no choice and that they only want to know the way out of there. The old man explains that they can only go back, but if they try to go another way, no one has ever come back alive, and he's been there for 30 years. Kai is surprised by how long he's been there, and the old man confirms it. He explains that it seems like there's a barrier ahead that always makes them return to the beginning. Then our hero asks if he has already explored all the places in the canyon, and the man says he's lost count of how many times he's done that, but he's never managed to cross it. He says that now that they understand, they should return, because uncontrollable beasts can appear at any moment and they won't be able to escape. The group pauses for a moment while the boy asks what they think about this. Laz says something feels off because this is supposed to be a place where no one comes back alive, but they found few beasts and no sign of people. Kai says that I can control the beasts with her lightning, which would give them a chance to escape. Then he says he'll go ahead to scout, and the girl asks him to be careful. Sometime later in the canyon, the boy says that thinking about it, something feels strange about the hyenas. The girl says they seemed experienced in combat. He says they didn't show fear or any intention of running, and that's weird. Suddenly something catches his attention and he asks, "Who's there?" Lita seems to have caught up to him, saying that they found another path earlier that might lead to an exit. He asks, "Earlier?" The warrior says yes, and that it's safer if they explore alone today. But the boy says not to come any closer. Getting ready to attack, he asks why her attitude suddenly turns so cold. Our hero dodges with a smile. Lita says that was impressive and asks when he noticed. Then Kay says that Lita would have found him faster, and there's no way Lita, who's always cautious, would suggest exploring before heading back. Then the unknown person says he got caught in an unexpected way, and says that since he refused his offer, he'll die here. But our hero decides to start attacking and says he won't fall that easily. In the next moment, he jumps backward, distancing himself from his opponent, and it seems he realizes something's wrong. The person says that he can't be defeated, tells him to give up, and that if he behaves, he won't kill him. Our hero asks what nonsense he's talking about, and that he's already found his weakness. Then he signals to his shadow, who says she understood. A sphere of energy appears above the girl, and that guy gets scared by what he sees. He realizes he can't move. Our hero says that as expected of his shadow, their synchronization is perfect. The girl gets really happy and says she's amazing. From behind the rock, that old man steps out and says his perception is incredible. Kai says he knew it was him. Then the old man asks since when he noticed. Our boy says he felt something was wrong when he hit the hyenas and saw they didn't take any damage. Then he asks if they're all his puppets. He also questions whether the barrier that prevents him from advancing is fake, and says the old man was tricking them into turning back so he could eat them one by one. The old man says it's impressive, but he's wrong because he doesn't want to eat them. He's just going to turn him into his next puppet. Then he orders his children to move forward, and at that moment, several hyenas come out of that bag. He points at our hero and tells them to catch him. Kai asks how he can control so many, and then asks if A can fire her yellow lightning, but she says she just used it recently. Suddenly, a hyena attacks, and he manages to duck just in time to avoid being hit. He wonders if they could run inside or use that hole to hide, and the girl says she could fire again in 10 seconds. But suddenly, our hero seems shocked by what he sees inside. He finds a bunch of people meditating. The old man appears, asking what's wrong and if they're not going to go in. Kai says now he understands and asks if he isn't a puppet too. The old man gets irritated by that question. He explains that he thought the fake Lita was being controlled by him, but after fighting, he realized something. That it's not him who's controlling the strings because the entire canyon is covered in countless invisible threads. He says that with people like them who have powers, normal ropes couldn't control them, so the canyon itself is what connects them. And that everyone who ended up there was lured in to train their shadow powers, and once they got strong, it would absorb everything, because there's only one beast there. The man claps his hands and says that's exactly the secret of the canyon, and that there's only one shadow beast in the entire canyon. But now that he knows, what could he do? Soon he will become a prisoner, providing power. Kai says that if it were up to him, he'd use everything he has, and the man reacts by saying he's pretty spirited even when close to defeat. His companion praises him, saying he's tough, and that today she'll teach him a special move. Calling this power the red and yellow ball, she tells the enemy to take it, and the guy jokes, asking if she couldn't have come up with a better name for that. The man laughs, saying she's just a little girl and shouldn't waste her time using such a useless power. But that colorful ball quickly flies toward the opponent, who tries to shield himself with tentacles. Desperate, the guy shouts that his protection is melting. In no time, that small power grows larger and now engulfs him completely. Teleporting to the man's back, she angrily tells him not to underestimate a pretty girl. Indeed, the enemy underestimated the girl, but then asks if they really think he's just going to stand there. Kai says the old man prepared 2 beasts against them and has nothing else left, so from now on, I will attack, and questions how many times he can defend against her. The enemy asks why the boy thinks he can win since he's entered the shadow world. The man says that his companions are trapped in a fierce battle against his minions and that he'll never see them again, but the boy doesn't believe it. I'll destroy this place. That way, your beasts will be useless too, the protagonist concludes while holding Ai. The old man tells him to go ahead and try. Then the little girl fires a very powerful ability from her mouth. Impressed, the young man says, "Wow, not even a scratch." The enemy asks if they really think he'll be defeated so easily and laughs, saying they'll become his minions. After their companions are digested, his beasts will be free. Kai turns his back, deciding to leave and give up on that fight. Thoughtful, the young man knows that Riku is there and that Laz and Lita won't fall so easily. He hopes he can catch up to them soon. Meanwhile, the woman questions why Lita brought her to a place like this. The guy asks if she's ever wondered how their story would end, and Laz replies that it would be escaping the ravine or dying there, since there were no other options. The man says there's a third option, surrendering to the 10 rulers, because he himself already spoke with the guards. He also says that if she surrenders, they could rule 3 fortresses in that area, become the strongest guards, and secure a bright future. While grabbing her sword, the warrior says she had no other choice. Lita repeats that they could become stronger, and that he also had no choice but to trust them, and in the end, others lent them their strength. But it wasn't enough because humans were too weak to improve, and that if things continued like this, there would be no way forward. That's why the guard offered one last chance to surrender. He says it was their final chance, that they shouldn't rot there, and tells the girl, "Come on, I'm begging you, just this once. With great power, we can live freely." Crying, Laz explains that her friend crossed a line that should never be crossed. They protect the weak, and if they abandon them, all hope will be lost, and she won't do that. With his trident ready to strike, the young man says he'll make her understand through force since she resists. The girl manages to counterattack and break the guy's weapon. Even injured, Lita extends his hand. Still crying, the girl doesn't understand why the man didn't dodge. "You're too kind, and my power is overflowing. Devouring me will increase your strength, and guiding everyone out of here is something only you can do," the young man says. Sadly, Laz begs him not to go. The guy says that's why men must make hard decisions when necessary, then asks her to devour him and not waste time. The woman explains that she also met the guard, and he gave her 2 options, surrender or become part of the ravine. On top of that, she brought everyone to this place. "No matter what choices you make, I'll always be by your side. Pull yourself together. Everything will be okay, because our dreams are within reach," says Lita. The warrior closes his eyes and doesn't open them again, and she lets out a scream of denial. For a moment, the girl feels inconsolable. Kai and his companion arrive at a place where several people are lying on the ground. They think they arrived too late. 3 defeated creatures are tied together, and a young man stands in the middle of a group of hyenas, in trouble, saying that if those 3 were there, they could handle this crowd. Suddenly, one of the hyenas ferociously attacks him. Our hero shows up to save the day and punches the beast while the guy looks surprised by that entrance. As the enemy slowly disappears, the stunned boy says it was defeated with a single hit. He thought he could handle all of them this way, then asks Kai to gather the remaining humans and get them out of here, and finally tells him to lead the enemies to him. Riku asks the crowd to follow him, and the group heads back the way the duo came. Shadowy tentacles mysteriously appear, scaring the people. Some survivors are grabbed by them and beg to be released. Someone strikes, cutting the tentacles. Kai is there to help them and tells them to run quickly. The boy says he'll hold off the attacks. Landing more strikes, the young man destroys more tentacles. Laz joins in too and praises him, saying he's improved and that he's been practicing like she taught him. He notices that even his friend was controlled and asks about Lita. Upset, the woman explains that it was her own companion who was devouring the others, so she had to take him down, and now the protagonist is the only one with enough power still resisting. Impressed, Kai asks if it was the warrior who was behind everyone disappearing, and hears that she was innocent but couldn't escape from the 10 lords. The woman says she crossed the lands of regret, that she had to sacrifice many people, and because she took too long to decide, she chose a terrible path. The so-called promised paradise is the ravine, even though it's a shadow beast, but Laz believed this would guarantee everyone's survival without fear of being devoured. Finding it absurd that his friend ended up like this, he sees now she lives as a prisoner and that this isn't truly living. Not seeing it as a problem, the young woman says that they're different from the enemies, and as long as they have the power of the ravine, it's far better than the cruel world outside. Reaching out her hand, the woman asks if he would like to join her because she's tired and doesn't want to lose any more friends. Even though it's not a bad idea, Kai refuses and criticizes her attitude, saying she's moving away from who she really is, and because of that, he's going to remind her. Suddenly, a power erupts from the ground. A tentacle grabs Ai, and the warrior says it's a shame to lose 2 friends in the same day. Then she delivers a strike. Laz launches several attacks from above. Then those strikes all fall on the boy at once. Now injured, Kai is crouched on the ground. His companion runs up, calling out to him. The woman believes this is the end of everything, but our hero tells her to wait. "Ever since I arrived in this world, I've been ambitious and wanted to bring everyone back with me, but my shadow power absorption isn't great. So I had an idea, says the boy. The warrior thinks he's just stalling, asking that if he still has strength left, then fight, because now she'll finish him for good. Using A's technique to condense shadow power, Kai plans to absorb that power from her. The boy asks if his friend is ready, and hears in response that no matter what happens, she'll be with him. Then the boy activates a magic that envelops his body, his eyes change color, and his shirt rips apart. Doubting this will work, the warrior says there's no way to handle that, and if he fails, he'll lose his sanity. If it works, I won't have to worry about becoming a minion anymore, and I'm betting everything on this method to survive, explains Kai, holding Ai in his arms. Somehow, the girl vanishes, the magic around him dissipates, and the boy drops to his knees while a jet of energy shoots out from his hand. Laz says there's no need to intervene since the boy already failed. But suddenly, several whirlwinds appear around her, confusing her. One of them transforms into a dragon and tries to attack the woman, who wonders what kind of power that is. With a powerful strike, the creature throws something backward. She crashes into the wall, wounded. That mass of dragons charges toward Laz. That dragon-shaped attack gets closer. Laz says it's an amazing technique, but asks who the person is. Then she starts trying to guess a name, only to be shocked by what she discovers a moment later. Ai says that now it's time for her punishment. She asks if it's really Ai, and questions how she suddenly became an adult, wondering what happened. Our hero says the same thing, that his body feels like it's about to explode, while Ai tells her master to stay strong. He laughs and says the trick failed, apologizing to her for dragging her into this, but Ai says no, that she's not scared, and that she loves him very much. At that moment, she says there's one final attempt, and the boy asks what it is. She asks him to give her the power he absorbed. If he does, she might lose control and devour him, but he says it doesn't matter. He's willing to take the risk. If only one of them can survive, he wants it to be her. And if one day she can, he hopes she completes her dream and finds her family. She cries, hugging her master, and he tells her to start and not to cry. Then she says that she has received her master's power in her body, and now she has evolved. Smiling, Laz says this is only possible because of the determination and trust between the two of them, and because she is a one knight, they can transfer power between them. She tells Laz that she needs to change her way of thinking because it's wrong. She doesn't believe she can be defeated in her current form. Laz says she's injured but can still fight. She's taught Kai a lot, so she tells him to draw his sword because he can still do something good for her. Ai says she realizes she has no choice. Then she charges forward, saying, "I'm coming." Laz says her speed is bad and her precision too. She asks, "What did you learn fighting alongside Kai?" She says she needs to adjust her angle, and by doing that, she can keep dodging. Then counterattacking, she says, "That was a really good move," and A jumps away from the girl. Laz says her learning skills are amazing and that she'll master her sword techniques quickly. She asks if that's the advantage of being humanoid. She says her ability to learn is impressive but questions whether she can dodge this next technique. The girl starts concentrating her power. Ai says she's using rose petals to block her vision. Then suddenly, something appears beside the girl. She strikes at that thing, then suddenly realizes she hit Laz, and Laz says she truly is exceptional, and now she can rest in peace. She explains that these petals are used to block the vision of giants. She says there's no time left, so she should listen carefully. She tells her to take this box. If things get really dangerous, it will save her, and that this is where her journey ends, saying she's going to see Lita. Ai says she knows she never intended to kill her, and that now she's guiding her to the end, so she tells Laz to rest in peace. Our hero comes running happily, calling for his shadow. The girl tells him not to look at her like that just because she grew up, and that honestly, her master is so unpredictable. But he says she was way cuter when she was small. Ai tells him not to hug her without permission from now on, and he replies that he understands. She's not that cute after all. She says the woman told her she would give her everything if she spared her life, and she agreed. But in the end, she's the only one with blood on her hands. Then, above them, they see that giant clown controlling several creatures. The villain asks why they're refusing and asks if they hate the idea of becoming his friends. He tells them to relax. He's a nice guy. Our hero says he'd rather die than become his friend and tells his shadow that he's counting on her. At that moment, she charges at him. Kai launches an attack, throwing them far away. His minions try to hold the girl, and they prepare to bite her, when suddenly she says, "This is disgusting," and reacts by tossing them all around. That guy says he doesn't want to hurt anyone. He just wants to make them his friends. Finally, he says fine. He'll try to persuade them. The girl asks why, while the man says he's going to grab them all, and then he won't be lonely anymore. At that moment, Riku starts speaking. Struggling, he says, "This place. No one will get hurt. It's safe, and you should become friends. Then I'll welcome you." Our hero says that even if he refuses, he's going to free him from being a puppet, and they'll talk about this later. The clown asks why he can't understand something so simple. He says becoming his ally is the best choice, and if they don't want to, that's fine, but he can't let the secrets leave this place. At that moment, our hero speaks to his shadow, and she understands. She leaps over the guy, cutting his strings, and at the same time, he starts to fall, with our boy catching him. The villain asks if they think that cutting the strings will free them, and says it doesn't make sense, because he has infinite strings. At that moment, I approaches him and asks, "So this is it?" She just observes, saying it's surrounding him. But then, a surprise attack comes, but he notices it. An explosion happens behind the clown. Our hero gives the command to act now. The shadow answers the command, concentrating her power in her hand, and says she's going to destroy. She hits the creature with her red fist strike. The clown starts to crack under the attack. That villain stutters a little, saying it's wonderful as a hole opens in him. He starts falling, looking defeated. A reverts back, screaming no, and asking why it happened now. She starts falling from that huge height, then crashes face first into the ground. Our hero approaches with a strange look while the girl stammers, calling master. He says she rejected his hug earlier and asks what the problem is, saying she has to endure now. She cries, asking for help. The villain says they used the explosion to block his vision and hit him with that explosive power. It was a good tactic, but they underestimated him. Then he starts laughing, and a dark energy concentrates on his wound, regenerating it. All the companions are shocked when they realize he's healing. The clown looks at them with a malicious smile, spinning a rope around his finger. Suddenly, Reiku grabs our hero and restrains him with a hold, while his shadow screams for him. The villain explains that once someone is under his control, it becomes easier to manipulate. In other words, the person can no longer escape. And Riku continues to immobilize our hero. A begs him to let go and release her master, or else she'll do something. The clown asks what she's going to do, and says that she needs an enormous amount of power to transform, and the fact that she reverted means she has to stockpile it. So in other words, this is the end. She remembers the box. The guy, confused, asks what that is. I then opens that little box and energy bursts out of it. Suddenly, some blades appear and start cutting the ropes again. The man gets furious, saying that's really interesting, and says Laz tricked him. He remembers a while ago when she told Ai that everyone thought her shadow was the sword, but actually, she has another one, the box, and inside it is the power of those who were willing to leave their strength for those who were left behind, and the box is full of condensed pearls. She says she was thinking about pretending to be controlled to open the box and put an end to him. She asks Ai to tell Kai to gather everyone and find a safe place. Very sad, Ai says that she and her master will find a safe place for everyone and begs her to rest in peace. Then at that moment, our hero uses his energy and breaks free from Reiku. He says he can feel it, that this is the power of Laz, Lida, Van, and Philip. His shadow says that's right, this is the power they left for them. It's the power they gave as the last wish of Laz. Kai says that even if they crossed the line and made mistakes, in the end, they all chose to offer their power and their hope. As he attacks, he remembers his friends, saying this is their hope and that he won't give up here. He lands a solid hit on his opponent, who doesn't even react. But the villain starts laughing, asking if this is everyone's hope, saying it's pretty interesting. As he's being sliced in half, he says it seems the boy won. But out of nowhere, something starts happening behind him. Kai realizes it at the last second that something is going on. He collapses to the ground, trembling, screaming that his head hurts, while his shadow runs to help him. She calls out to her master, yelling, "No." Our hero suffers with an excruciating headache, while his shadow begs him to hang on. Suddenly, Raiku yells that it's useless. He says that while he was being controlled, he realized that the giant clown was just a puppet. The real enemy is someone else, full of resentment. So from now on, they have to believe in themselves. He says he believes Kai can lead them out of there. Suddenly, our hero seems to be in another place and wonders where he is. Suddenly, a man appears attacking someone, yelling to give them food quickly or he'll kill him. The man on the ground begs for more time, saying that if they produce more food, they'll starve and die, and that it's better to die than to suffer this. The angry warrior says, "Then die," as he prepares to attack. At this point, our hero jumps into the fight, telling him to wait, but he simply passes right through that attacker. He realizes he was phased through and that this feels like an illusion, or maybe he's inside someone's memory. That helmeted man says that their lives mean nothing to him, and if they don't understand, he'll kill them, while the poor guy just nods in fear. Another person arrives and tells him to calm that guy down and make him cook quietly. Someone else shows up, playing a violin with a small clown by his side. In a gentle voice, he says that music heals the wounds of the heart and that he'll feel a little better, while the guy says he's going to die like this and begs for help. The man tells him to hold on just a bit longer, that he's an important companion and that he'll definitely guide them out of this darkness. Another irritated man asks what they're whispering about and tells them to hurry up and get the food. Later, our hero finds himself in another place. He notices it and wonders what's happening. Is this some kind of cave? That angry man points his sword at the violinist, asking why he thinks he could kill him if he's so weak. He tells the man that he can control people's hearts, and if he did, they'd be unstoppable. So why does he choose to help the weak? Frustrated, he asks if the warrior knows how many people die every day just making food, and that for those who live in despair, rebellion is all that's left. Unwilling to listen, the warrior says he'll just kill him too. The violinist starts crying and apologizes for it ending this way. He says it's going to hurt more, asking for forgiveness, while the clown tells his master he's not scared. That warrior looks surprised, asking what this is. He wonders if those are strings, that the man is using the strings to extract the shadow beast and control people, but asks if he really thinks that can kill him. The violinist says that if he spreads his power out, no, he can't, but if he concentrates his power, then his strings can absorb others' power. The man starts trembling and screaming while focusing all his power. The warrior says he's a fool, that his body can't handle that much power, and that he'll be destroyed. The clown begs his master to stop or he'll die. The man apologizes, saying he believed too much in his own strength. But there is hope. He'll put his power into his shadow. The clown is afraid he'll lose control and devour him. Even so, the man says he believes in him, that he'll defeat the enemy, and asks that one day he'd take their companions to a safe place, saying, "I'm counting on you." The man loses his life, passing his power into the clown, who was his shadow. That clown starts growing, and the warrior asks what's happening. Why is he getting so big? Then, with his massive hand, he strikes the warrior and finishes him right there. Kai says this is bad. Everything's collapsing. Suddenly, the entire ceiling starts crumbling. Surprised, he looks at the puppet clown and asks if this is his true body. The creature says that's right, and that just like him, his master transferred his power into him. The only difference is that he lost control and devoured his master. He explains that somehow his sanity has now returned, and now he can live exactly the way his master wanted, and that he can also rebuild his body. Plus, if there's no safe paradise in this world, they can create one themselves. Our hero says he can't agree with the way he does things, because a life without freedom isn't worth living. But the clown says he doesn't care. He's immortal. Suddenly, strings shoot from all directions, binding Kai. The clown says that everyone obeys him, and there's no way for Kai to win this fight. Kai asks if he really thinks turning people into puppets is what his master wanted, and says that won't solve anything. The creature asks what he's talking about, insisting that he fulfilled his master's wishes. Then suddenly, even while tied up, our hero lunges at the clown, saying, "This is the end," and strikes the creature directly. He says he's always sought freedom, not the easy path. That was his master, who never changed his mind. But the clown became obsessed, and a coward. The clown says the sword carries the last wishes of his comrades and admits that maybe Kai is right, and that the box from earlier seemed pretty interesting. He says that once he is completely defeated, they should take his wishes and his master's wishes, then put all the power into the box, asking them to find a safe place. Then that creature starts transferring its power into the box, and in the next moment, all that energy is stored inside. Our hero says his head hurts, while his shadow thanks the gods that he recovered. Once again, he says she rejected his hug earlier and says he'll hug her again now, while she begs him to stop suffering. Riku asks what they're going to do now as everything starts collapsing. Kai says he will lead them on the path and get them out of here. Then, 10 days later in the desert, a group of knights seems to be searching for something. Reporting to the general, one says he heard footsteps ahead and that there are at least 100 people. The general draws his weapon and tells everyone to prepare for battle. Nearby, our hero's group marches exhausted, while Ai asks how much longer. He replies that he doesn't know and that he used all the shadow power he absorbed. So if this continues, everyone will stay in danger. Suddenly, a net appears, trapping 2 of the girls. They scream for help as 2 knights drag them away. Our hero steps forward, asking who they are and why they're attacking his group. The general says this is the border of the Shadow Kingdom, and anyone who crosses will die. Our hero and his shadow start running toward them, asking if there's a safe country around. His shadow asks if there's anywhere fun and says she wants to go. He starts shaking the general, demanding to know where it is, while the man replies, "You kids." Then he strikes, asking if they're messing with him, but our hero manages to dodge while holding the girl. Kai asks if he's seriously planning to kill them when they've just met. The man says it's because they are people who came from the desolate lands. Not understanding, the boy asks what that has to do with anything, that they have no intention of fighting. But the knight says it doesn't matter. What matters is that they have different roots. Kai asks what he means by that. He explains that they themselves have always lived in the shadow world, unlike them, who are invaders. So when they find invaders, they kill them out of mercy. Kai pleads for them to wait, saying they have no intention of killing anyone, that they're just looking for a safe place and won't cause any trouble. But the general says their intentions don't matter. Their mere existence is a threat, and asks if he understands that they are different from him. He asks if all of them have shadows too. He says yes, that shadows are given to those from the outside world, and that's why they have shadows but no shadow beasts. That's the difference. He calls them regretful ones. He explains that in this world, to survive, they must absorb shadow energy, but people like him from another world can absorb at least double the energy. In other words, in the places where they live, survival becomes difficult. That's why they've always had to fight the regretful ones, because if you look at the essence of it, you'll realize they can steal their resources. Because the originals who live in this world have to work incredibly hard to increase their strength, but if these outsiders kill and consume them, they'll easily gain power. And after a great battle, they managed to push them into the desolate land. Then the king created a law forbidding them from accepting the regretful ones. So he asks if he understands, and demands that they leave immediately, or they won't show mercy. Our hero's companions start stepping forward, visibly angry. The general asks what's wrong, saying they changed their attitude after hearing the story, and that was expected. He orders them to form ranks and begin the attack. An old man asks what this has to do with them, saying they'd never crossed the humans' line, but now they're taking away their only chance to survive. The old man charges forward, saying that if they retreat, they'll die, and if they move forward, they'll die too, because these people refuse to understand that they have the right to live, so they'll claim it for themselves. But our hero steps in front, asking him to wait. That man says he can't take it anymore, that they're going to die miserably, and instead, they'd rather fight and die right here. Kai asks if the man can give them 1 hour, and if his attitude doesn't change, then he won't try to stop him. But for now, he asks everyone to calm down. Riku thinks that Laz's judgment about this person was right, that he's become very reliable, and he's certain that he can lead them out of here. The general asks what that's supposed to mean and whether he's going alone to declare war. But our hero says that what the previous repentance did doesn't concern them. He says that they themselves did nothing wrong, but it's still unfair. One of the soldiers says that's nonsense and asks the general to give the order to wipe them out. But the leader tells him to shut up and then asks what the boy is trying to say. Our hero asks if he wants to fight him since he's the strongest of the group, and if he wins, it will mean that the people are not enemies because both sides will have suffered. But if the hero wins, they won't be able to stop him, so they should allow them to build their home there. The general laughs, saying that's fun, and asks if he really wants to call this place home, even knowing they hate it. He says that although it's a desolate land, they patrol it with a large army and don't let their guard down, but they are not enemies. They could be allies. A soldier says, interesting, then show us your strength, and tells him to attack. That warrior raises his spear, concentrating his energy heavily. Without flinching, our hero charges forward, thinking that if he lets him keep charging his energy like that, he won't stand a chance. But the man easily dodges his attack. Kai turns around with his fists charged with energy. He keeps attacking but wonders why he can't hit him. Then he realizes that the general's eyes are closed. The general says that he's strong but can't hide anything, and even with his eyes closed, he can predict his attacks. The man says it's fine, that he's pretty interesting for a repentant. Then he places his hand over his chest and manifests an energy of a different color. With that, he sends our hero flying. He crashes onto the ground, bouncing, while Ai screams for her master. His shadow asks if he's okay, but injured, he says he's fine. Smiling, he says, if that's your ultimate move, then sorry, but it's not a big deal. The general tells him not to be so hasty, that this is just the beginning. He moves his spear, creating a huge whirlwind of energy. Our hero is shocked, asking if this is a wave. An excited soldier says that this is General Eric's most powerful attack, called the Infinite Wave. Any enemies caught in it are torn to pieces. The man says he respects him and will accept him with his strongest attack, and if he survives, he will accept his request. Our hero just watches as that powerful wave of energy comes toward him. But he realizes that if these incredible waves keep coming, he won't be able to withstand them alone. But if he doesn't, they'll hit his companions, so he can't dodge. The guy says that when facing death, people must make a choice, and that if he dodges, it'll hit his friends. So what will he do? Tense, Kai yells for the black shield to hold strong. The general says it was a good decision and that he'll believe in his words from earlier. But if he truly wants to be his ally, he'll have to prove it. Suddenly, something nearby makes a very loud noise. Our hero asks what that noise is, and the general says it's his final challenge, that they are repentants just like him. He tells him to defeat them, and then he will recognize them as allies. But if he fails, they'll be enemies. Then he says, go and kill them all. I asks if he'll really do it, if he can trust him, and our hero says that now he understands why Laz said there's danger everywhere. Kai says that if they stop believing in others, they'll never find a safe place, and that's why they have no choice but to fight. At that moment, our hero punches the ground, manifesting his power, and a huge wall of sand rises in front of the men. Riku uses his shadow to block attacks from the opponents. A massive battle breaks out on the spot. Satisfied, he realizes that everyone has become strong, so his efforts weren't in vain. Suddenly, a man notices something, and a powerful spear lands between them. A woman appears, saying that after spending so much time, there's no way to cross the border, and that this is pathetic. Her name is Umaru. The man apologizes to her, saying that suddenly a large number of repentants showed up, and asks her to give them a little more time. She points at our hero's group and asks if they're his subordinates. She asks why they're attacking if they're all repentants. Our hero says they have no bad intentions but asks to confirm, is this the edge of the shadow world? Then he questions why not make a truce. The woman laughs and asks if he's suggesting a truce, saying that's so naive it makes her nauseous. She explains that the 10 rulers ordered them to invade the shadow world and asks if he even knows what happens if she disobeys. Kai asks if it's really okay to let them do whatever they want and says there must be another way, but the woman questions what he just said. The boy tells her they should join forces and rebel against the 10 rulers. She calls him a fool and says he has no idea how terrifying they are, adding that if these natives weren't valuable as food, the world would have been destroyed already. Kai questions where this endless fighting is leading them, saying nothing good will come from it, so why not work together with the shadow world? Umaru calls him an idiot for trying to form an alliance with food, asking if he really believes they can be trusted, now convinced he's truly an imbecile. She says that if he wants to work with the shadow world, then he's an enemy, and whether she eats him or the others makes no difference, he should blame his naive brain for it. Then the woman attacks while he tries to defend himself. She gets surprised and says that with that level of skill, it's honestly a disgrace. But Kai replies that he believes it's not impossible as he strikes at her. After dodging, she says she understands. She admits he moves well and says she can't win in close combat, so she needs to take him down with a single strike, which means she'll use her final move. Then she throws her spear filled with energy straight at our hero. Even though it's a very fast attack, he manages to dodge. His shadow comes running, saying she'll help him, but he tells her he doesn't need it and that he's fine. He says that she's his trump card and he wants to save her for later. Suddenly, the spear appears above his head, attacking him. Kai dodges at the last second. He curses, saying she's really strong and that if he doesn't attack her up close, he won't be able to win. The woman explains that this spear is her shadow and it moves according to her will, asking if he thinks he can get past this girl and reach her. Our hero says he has no choice, so he'll have to go head on, first suppress the shadow and then take care of her. The woman tells him to try, ordering the spear to eliminate him. Our hero blocks the attack and says he'll do it no matter what it costs. Then, in the next moment, the spear hits him directly, shattering him into several pieces. The girl looks surprised, asking if it's an illusion, then orders the spear to return to her while wondering where he went. Suddenly, a pile of sand appears between her and the spear, causing the spear to hit the sand directly. The woman becomes tense and curses the situation. Our hero asks if she said he didn't have a special move, then tells her to open her eyes wide and watch closely. Suddenly, she is surrounded by a massive amount of sand. Annoyed, the woman says she won't be defeated that easily. While she attacks the sand, our hero appears behind her. She notices in time and strikes perfectly, only to realize it was another illusion. Meanwhile, our hero emerges from another hole behind her. Jumping into the air, he says he'll use his strongest move. Then he comes down, preparing an attack on the girl. He hits the girl directly, giving her no chance to defend. Umaru asks if he used the power of shadows to create an illusion and land a surprise attack. She says it's terrifying control and that it's fine. He can kill her. Kai wonders why he has to kill her, saying that killing each other only creates more hatred. He adds that if what she truly wants is safety, then take a step back and join the Shadow Kingdom. If no one has done it before, then they'll be the first. Then, smiling kindly, he tells her to come and join them. The woman calls him master. She remembers a time in the past when she crawled around for food, until someone came and grabbed that piece of bread. The man said he would take that food, and it shouldn't be wasted on someone like her, threatening her with a weapon. Then he prepared to attack her, saying he would eliminate her quickly. But at that moment, a man appeared and knocked the guy down. The man apologized to Umaru, saying he was late. She ran to hug him, calling him master. Umaru asked her master why they had been at war for so long, saying she heard other countries were full of food, and he explained that it was because of hatred. Then she asks if anyone finally steps back, but he says that at least in that country, everyone who tried died, and if they want to rebuild that country, taking a step back is absolutely necessary, but for now, they should just focus on surviving. Smiling, she thinks that this fool has finally appeared, and she has to admit that he has the power to deal with anyone easily. She slaps his hand and says that maybe someday a fool like that might appear, but for now, he is far from being able to challenge the rulers. She tells him to prove it, to show that he has the power to lead them and create a new path, because if he can't, it's all just a dream, and she will keep attacking. She adds that until they are all dead, they will survive. Then she prepares to absorb her spear, and she does it as all the dark energy surrounds her. Then suddenly she seems to undergo some mutations. Kai asks if she is kidding and says that she swallowed her shadow creature to absorb its power. Then smiling, he looks at his little girl. The girl, desperate, tells him not to look at her and that swallowing it won't increase her power. But he replies, annoyed, that it's not what he means, but that she should transform into the other A because he can't do this alone. But she gets irritated and says that he just wants to see her adult version. The girl says she is merely a guard of the 10 rulers, and if he can't defeat her, then he should just die clinging to his naive dreams. Then I finally fulfills her master's request and transforms. Her opponent rushes toward the girl, and strikes her shadow with force, but she manages to defend in time. Our hero notices the fight and starts moving forward to join the combat. His opponent notices this in time. Then she places her hand on the ground and makes a special move hitting both of them at once. He tells A that she used her entire body as a weapon, so don't let her get that close, and his shadow says she will distract her. Then the girl charges at her opponent and prepares to use her special wind/attack. She strikes toward the girl, who counters with an attack. Then the two powers collide, and our hero suddenly appears saying for her to take this. But the woman is alert and says she won't fall for that again, asking if it's a shadow illusion. She says it doesn't matter where he hides, he won't be able to escape her attacks. Kai asks, what if she happened to hit his real body first? Surprised, she asks if he deliberately took the hit. And our hero's answer is a powerful blow that strikes the girl directly. Her opponent falls to the ground a few meters in front of him. She's laughing in that crater, saying she's happy that he won. Kai says he won and asks her to fight alongside him as a promise. The woman starts climbing out of that hole, looking at him. Then she raises her arm and shouts for everyone to stop, and says that from now on, she has decided to follow this person, and everyone knows she does anything to keep them safe. But from now on, this person can lead her without the need for more deaths. So they must stop killing, and she wants to try a path without more pain. Her group cries and says they will follow her to the ends of the world. Our hero says that this was resolved peacefully, but that the woman says there is no time, and he must listen carefully because she knows a great secret. She tells him that the people from the desolate lands and the shadow world have been at war for a long time, but it's different from the past. She says that now, one of the 10 rulers is preparing to start a war. Our hero questions this and also asks what they could possibly gain from it. The woman explains that they are very powerful, so they don't even know how long they have lived, and it seems they make everyone strong so that they can become food. But they never started a large-scale war because doing so could create humans too powerful who would become a threat, and that peace was supposed to last forever, until this person finally appeared, and the name of that person was Gilbert. Our boy asks his shadow if it sounds familiar, but she says not really. The woman says it's natural that he never heard of it because he is completely unknown to the desolate lands. She explains that he is a shadow beast. They are surprised by this information. She explains that some beasts who devour their masters become intelligent, but can only increase their power by absorbing shadow energy. Since then, they live knowing they could die at any moment. There are 5 of them who have lived for a long time, called the Great Shadow Beasts. Our hero asks if these beasts have their own faction and if they rival the 10 rulers. She explains that yes, they do, and it's a place known as the desolate lands of the shadow beasts. The 5 great beasts lead the surviving shadow beasts and sleep there, and if they hadn't awakened, they would have lived their lives without anyone ever seeing them. But one day, Gilbert appeared at the palace of the 10 rulers. When he entered, the 10 rulers didn't even know what to say to him, so after that, they coordinated the start of the war and handed out special pills to the good guards. Our hero gets curious about the pills. The woman says that one pill was integrated into her spear, and her transformation comes from it. They possess a strange power that can fuse with the master and the beast, but the price for this is death. He asks if that's not strange, wondering if the previous wars encouraged turning everyone into food, then says that with the pill they couldn't do that. The woman says she doesn't understand everything, maybe it has another purpose, but none who took the pill survived, and maybe he will figure out the rest of the story. She adds that for him to do that, he'll have to survive the crisis that's coming, and our hero asks what she's talking about. She explains that the invasion by the 10 rulers follows rules, and they don't care how many die. Besides, the next invasion will happen in 3 months. She also says that if she dies, the next one who comes won't be a guard, but a guard commander. Smiling, she tells him to live and show her that other path he talked about. Then she asks if that other reality is possible and tells him to answer her. Determined, he says that 3 months is more than enough. Then he walks in front of those soldiers until he reaches their general. He says that he kept his promise and asks if the general will keep his. Then the man extends his hand and tells him to let him welcome his new ally. 3 months later, in that palace, someone says they're in pain and that Yumaru is really useless, but asks someone if this fortress has always been there. That man says it's interesting that they built a fortress here, wondering if they plan to do well in a war against them. Then he decides to take a look, asking who would dare challenge the rules of the 10 rulers, but the boy asks him to wait for him. They find it strange because there's no one inside. The boy says it's a construction with several walls for no reason, wondering if they are idiots. Someone says it seems like their opponent isn't very smart since they think the shadow world is just an extension of the real world. Then she asks if she should teach them a lesson. At that moment, several spikes rise from the ground, and that man looks surprised at it. But in the next moment, he says it's a pathetic trap, but the boy says he's scared. The man says that even if they had power in the real world, here their shadow condensation skills are weak, just like the others. They're nothing but trash. In the next moment, an axe flies out from inside the wall, and it flies toward that man. He just looks at the axe and grabs it. Squeezing it tightly, he crushes it into pieces. Then he comments that he smells something, and it's not something good. Covering his nose, he throws it far from where he was. Then suddenly, a cage falls over him, and he asks, "Again?" That man tries punching the bars, but it doesn't do much. He comments that they're resistant, and that the flower scent he smelled weakened his power. From atop one of the walls, our hero and his shadow watch what happened. They celebrate with the girl, saying it was a great success. Someone asks if they were the ones who did those tricks and why the cage is so resistant. Our hero answers that it's because he made a genius discovery. Each shadow beast has its own specialty. He says, for example, if one person builds a cage, it'll be incredibly sturdy, but if the work is divided, the cages get even better. He explains that it's the power of teamwork and asks if he's impressed with that. The man just smiles, asking if that's the power of teamwork. He says it's interesting, but that they shouldn't celebrate yet because his agent is outside. Then the boy jumps down to the ground, saying, "Oh my God." He asks the man if he already wants to finish everything because he'd like to play a little more. The boy says he won't be able to forgive them for imprisoning Simon, and that even while imprisoned, the man still seems very cool. But the crime of imprisoning him is serious. This will be their end. Then suddenly 2 pillars of energy appear in front of our hero. He comments that they're attacking without a proper introduction and says they have no manners. The boy is surprised and asks if he can dodge that fast. Then asks what he thinks about this, launching more attacks at the guy. Kay thinks there are too many for him to dodge, so he'll have to block them. Our hero struggles to withstand the attack. Then he asks if it's made of sand and stones while his shadow runs toward him, worried. The boy confirms it and says it's a mix of a sandstorm with sharp stones. In other words, the desert is his weapon, and they stand no chance. He turns to someone and says he wants that guy right there, and the man agrees, telling him to do as he pleases. Outraged, our hero says they treat people like food and that he won't forgive him. The boy says he's stubborn and now he's decided what he'll do to make him beg for his life. That he'll make him kneel and beg, and then devour him. He says he's going to destroy the fortress he built with this endless sandstorm. Then he asks how long he'll be able to keep this up. Our hero says this wind is troublesome, and in that case there's only one way. Kai looks at his shadow and says he's counting on her. The girl gets scared and asks what he's planning. Then suddenly he grabs the girl and says she can do this while she screams in despair. Out of nowhere, he throws the girl into the whirlwind saying, "Go." The boy wonders if they're fighting amongst themselves, but says it doesn't matter since high-quality food is hard to find. But in the next moment, he seems to realize something. Ice suddenly appears in her adult form, cutting through that attack. She keeps going toward the boy and attacks him with her weapon, but the boy manages to dodge. She says he's good at dodging, so she'll keep trying until she hits him. The boy calls out to Simon and says that if this keeps up, he's going to die. But the man calmly takes his bottle and stretches, saying the boy is completely useless, then says it's fine, playtime is over, and he's going to start moving. He asks our hero if he knows why Yumaru is just a guard while he's a commander guard. He explains that you need enough strength to manage countless prisoners to become a commander guard. Our hero gets tense, thinking this is bad, that this alcohol is something highly corrosive. The man adds that as a commander guard, he can handle any number of opponents. In the next moment, he's already free. Then Kai charges at him, asking if he thinks he'll escape like that. Simon says to experience the terror of infinite attacks. Our hero tries to defend as best he can, but ends up getting hit directly. His shadow gets worried and screams for her master. Without giving a break, the man continues his attack, and then says he can handle this by striking that lightning. The villain says that wasn't bad and asks how he'll handle this as he attacks again. The girl watches, preparing for the attack, then strikes that thing again, but she realizes in shock that she can't break through it. She starts running toward her master. Our hero says he's glad she's okay, but she grabs him by the collar and tells him to get up quickly because this opponent is a bit problematic. She manages to pull him away quickly enough so he doesn't get hit. Then the duo faces their two opponents. Turning suddenly, he says that's enough for today and that he's had enough fun, so they'll continue next time. Suddenly, the two turn around and start walking away. Our duo sits on the ground recovering, thinking that they are safe. But Kai thinks that these commander guards are really strong, wondering if several of them came at once. How could they possibly win? Some time later, in another place, someone tells Giant that he has returned. The man asks him to report the results of the reconnaissance to the 20 or so colleagues there. That man reports that a massive anomaly has appeared on the border of the Shadow Realm, and it seems they are prepared to stop their invasion. Giant says that's an interesting development for them, and that more subjective tests seem fun. He adds that they will enjoy the surprise he has prepared for them. Semen makes a gesture and says she understands. Then that man picks up his cup. He tells everyone to keep moving forward with him because the day to escape this fate is very close. He adds that now the Great War is about to begin. Then, 1 month later, in that peaceful fortress, someone says those documents are for Riku to process today, and the man asks them to leave them there. He looks at that pile of papers, a bit worried. Panicking, he asks how he's supposed to handle all this, wondering why he has to suffer like this. Determined, he stands up and says no way, he's going to make that guy understand his pain. Meanwhile, in the training area, our duo of heroes seems to be taking a nap. When Kai wakes up after hearing something, he yawns, realizing it's Riku standing there. But the guy looks furious, saying that while he's working like crazy, Kai is just here napping. He says it's unforgivable, and that he's going to report this. Our hero seems a bit tense and asks him to calm down. The man starts running after him with his weapon, yelling at him because he said that once the fortress was finished, he'd make him stronger, but now he's buried under paperwork. Riku says he won't let him go until he finishes everything today, and our hero runs away shouting, "Yes, sir." A little later, Kai is doing his 1,000 push-ups while his shadow rests on his back. He finally finishes with great effort. Falling to the side, breathless, he says he's done, while I tells him he's amazing. The guy says he shouldn't be soft because even though the fortress is ready, outside it's dangerous, and that's why he's so arrogant. Smiling, our hero says not to worry about him. Then he says that he messed up today and from now on, he'll intensify the training, telling Riku to push him hard. And for now, they should focus on building the fortress, but he asks if it's really safe. Kai says of course, and that he created a safe environment for everyone, and if everyone keeps training there, they'll eventually find a way home. The guy says fine, but tells him not to say he prefers this cruel and chaotic world. But our hero says the goal is to return home, and if they can't find a way on the ground, they'll look to the skies. He points upward, asking if that's really possible, and says that if they keep searching without giving up, he believes they'll find it. Riku gets excited about that. Kai says that's right, and that today a messenger from the Shadow Kingdom is coming to form an alliance, so now we'll take a break to handle that. Then he runs off with the little girl, telling them not to dump anything on him. Riku puts his hand on his head, thinking he's a fool for having any expectations. Some time later, Lian, General Eric's deputy, arrives there. He scolds the soldiers, telling them to hurry up because if they're late, the general will reprimand them. A soldier points ahead, telling Lan they've already arrived. A delegation from the fortress is approaching. She welcomes them and says to let them guide them to the Fortress of Peace. The man can't believe Kai sent a child to receive them and says there's still 10 kilometers to go. He asks why they came so far to meet them there. She explains that their fortress is full of traps, so it's to prevent accidents. Kai and Riku ordered them to meet them here. The man says he understands, so please show them the way. That delegation continues moving through the desert. Lian seems to notice something under his feet and gets a little suspicious about it. The girl asks if something's wrong, but the man says it's nothing. They can keep moving. A while later, they reach the gates of that huge fortress. The woman tells Lan to please follow her but not to touch anything without her permission. The man scoffs, asking if they're still pretending, then gives the command for his guards to act. At that moment, all the guards surround the delegation, pointing their spears at them. The woman asks Lan what the meaning of this is. He says this isn't the Fortress of Peace and demands to know who the hell she is. The woman says he must be joking, that this is the Fortress of Peace, and that they should head inside. Determined, the man asks, so that's how it is. He starts walking toward one of the walls. Then he does a strange spin and strikes that stone wall. The man asks if the walls of the Fortress of Peace shouldn't have some kind of function. He adds that if she doesn't talk, he will have to use more brutal methods to make her spit out the truth. The girl tells him that he's pretty smart, but she also thinks he's a bit foolish, so she tells him to go ahead and do it. In the next moment, some chains appear and bind the man's legs, and they start to trap all the guards as well. Suddenly, the hooded people draw their weapons and charge at the soldiers. Running, she then asks if he can't resist now and says it's over. The man tells her not to make him laugh, asking if she really thinks these chains can stop him. Then with his claws out, he launches an attack called Rose Claws. But suddenly, a stretched canvas appears in front of him. In the next moment, he's all tied up, saying he can't move and asking what this is. He then realizes that it's a shadow beast. The woman says that's right, it's her shadow, and that it's the painter demon of the realm, saying it was absorbed by her body, and that it can be whatever she imagines. She adds that he still doesn't stand a chance. Lian asks what her goal is because if he gets captured, the Shadow Realm will retaliate, so he questions what she would gain by ending the peace. The woman says that no one wants war, and if there's even the slightest chance for peace, they will take it, but they don't have much time left. Irritated, the man says that if she has any requests, she should make them now. But the girl simply says that he should rest there for now, and if there's a chance, she'll apologize to them. Nearby, our hero, his shadow, and Riku are waiting, some more anxious than others. He says that the guy walking back and forth is making him dizzy. Furious, he says that if Kai hadn't wasted time, they could have found the group much sooner. Our hero says to forget the agreement and all of this, he just wanted to sleep. The guy says this is the first joint operation with the Shadow Realm, and that honestly, he needs Kai to be there. Then he says it's fine and that they should find the group quickly and get this over with. Some time passes and Kai wonders what happened there. On the ground, there are several hooded people, and Riku says that the welcoming party was defeated, wondering who did this. Apparently, someone is still alive. Riku says that Cyrus is still alive, and our hero runs over, telling him to wake up and asking what happened. The man explains that the shadows attacked them and that Lian, who was with them, was swallowed by a shadow beast to protect them. Kai is surprised, questioning if he was really swallowed by a shadow beast. He asks Sai to go with him because they need to leave immediately. At that moment, his partner tells him to wait, and Kai asks what it is. Pointing his weapon at the guy on the ground, he asks if he said that Lian was with them. Stammering, the boy says yes. Then without any warning, Riku attacks the guy, who barely dodges. The guy, startled, asks what Riku is doing. He says that he had prepared the draft for the peace treaty and that Lian wouldn't come there to sign the treaty. So something is wrong here. The man stops pretending and says he understands now and that he didn't expect to get exposed like this. He says Riku is amazing, realizing it from such a small detail. Our hero asks why he attacked the welcoming group, questioning whether they weren't supposed to become allies, and also asks how he suddenly got so strong. The guy says he needs to thank Kai because if he hadn't managed to create all this peace, he wouldn't have been able to get strong so quickly. He explains that they found a way to increase their power rapidly. It will be the way to finally get rid of the terror of the 10 rulers once and for all. Riku, angry, asks if he really thinks that hurting his comrades is a way to become strong, and that if it were that easy, they would have already defeated the rulers. The guy says sacrifices are inevitable. In this harsh environment, gaining power quickly is simply justice. He explains that he protected them during their weak phase, and they are truly grateful, but if anyone tries to stop them now, they will eliminate them completely. Our hero says that it doesn't matter what he says because he cannot accept killing comrades, and that there's no point in getting stronger by killing allies. Preparing for combat, he finishes by saying that he'll take him down now. The man mocks, saying how touching it is that the man who protected them now wants to become their chains, and in that case, he'll bury him with his own hands. Placing a creature on the ground, he commands, advance, abyssal centipede. The companions get curious, saying it's pretty small, and asking if it's a shadow beast. But suddenly, right in front of Ai, it starts to change. Smoke covers the entire area, and Cyrus appears on top of that enormous centipede, while Kai says he can't believe how much it's grown. That guy asks if they realize it, the power that can change the course of the war, and says this isn't about pretending peace like the two of them. Our hero is shocked, asking if this shadow beast can cause this earthquake. In the next moment, a massive crack opens in the middle of the desert. Riku orders the cloth rat to quickly save the people. His shadow goes to the hole and creates a barrier for them to fall onto safely. He struggles a lot to hold the people. Then he calls out to Kai and Ai, asking them to take care of Cyrus, and our hero says he understands. Without thinking twice, he charges at the man on top of that enormous creature. But suddenly, a huge boulder flies toward him. Thinking fast, he strikes it and shatters it, asking if he thought that would stop him. Something starts happening around the creature, while the man says that's what he expected from Kai. Then he asks what he thinks about this, as massive stones begin to float around him. Cyrus explains that his abyssal centipede can control sand and cause earthquakes, meaning that in the desert, it's invincible. He finally tells Kai that this is goodbye. But our hero doesn't give up and puts all his effort into holding that colossal boulder. And the man says he expected that too, asking if he's going to keep enduring, and admits that honestly he doesn't want to kill him, so he asks if he'll reconsider. But struggling hard, Kai says not to play with him. Then his opponent says this is a shame. He finishes by saying that this really is goodbye, but Kai asks if he isn't curious to know where his companion is. At that moment, a huge red lightning bolt pierces through the stone, heading straight towards Cyrus. That bolt grazes the guy. He tenses up and turns, asking why. The girl, satisfied, says that ever since she gained the ability to transform, her lightning became much stronger. Then our hero, under that boulder, starts using all his strength. That huge stone begins to crack. Then our hero bursts out smiling, saying the centipede is badly injured, and adding that now is the time for the guy to surrender. But Cyrus says he still has one last card to play. Suddenly, the centipede starts doing something in front of them, and a massive hole opens through which they escape. Kai says they dug a tunnel underground. Frustrated, he asks his shadow if she can tell where they went, but she replies that from here, she can't sense their presence. At that moment, our hero notices something, and furious, he questions how they managed to escape. Riku looks at the scene and says that Kei really is something special. The welcoming party arrives, apologizing and saying that because of them, the peace treaty. But the guy cuts them off, saying that they were attacked deliberately, and the fact that they're still alive means he wasn't aiming to kill. The old man says he doesn't know Cyrus's objective, but he often went outside. Maybe something happened out there. Then Reiku says that first, they should return, and then he'll check the man's travel records. He says he thinks he knows what Cyrus's goal was, and why he became so strong so quickly. Sometime later, back at the Fortress of Peace, the guy slams his hand on the table, and angrily asks if there have been cases of child abductions by unidentified individuals recently, and why this wasn't reported. The man apologizes, saying that with the treaty, the number of immigrants increased, there were problems, and a lack of manpower. They couldn't handle everything. Our hero says that if there are immigrants, then the Shadow Kingdom's situation must not be much better than theirs. Riku asks if Cyrus was present in the places where the children were abducted, and the man says they even increased the workforce to look for the kidnappers. He wonders if there's a secret organization involved and if it's connected to the child abductions, but they must prioritize searching for Lion, otherwise the peace treaty could fail. Frustrated, our hero says he can't stand still anymore and that he's going after him. Riku asks what he's planning. Kai says he's going to the places where the children disappeared and will look for them, and that this might reveal something. Here's the translation with line spacing as requested. But the guy says that since he is well known, if he goes there, the culprits will just run away, so Kai asks what they should do. A man thinks for a while. Riku says that if a real child goes, then they might be caught off guard, and A points to herself asking if it's her. From inside the building, we can hear a very loud scream from a child. She says she doesn't want to go and clings to a pillar, also says she doesn't want to dye her hair, and that they're mean, but our hero just apologizes.
Our video ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.